Welcome to the Just Be Nice Project podcast with me, Josh Reed Jones, discussing all things powerful positive impact, finding out how you can remove barriers to opportunity for others through insightful and hopefully interesting conversations covering honest, diverse, and sometimes neglected areas of discussion. We are, as always, seeking to create extraordinary positive change in the world by helping you make ordinary positive change as we help you help others. You've got through the intro, now hang in there for the good stuff, strap yourself in, turn it up, and as always, just be nice as we roll the show. Alright, welcome to the Just Be Nice Project podcast. Once again, as we record this today, we respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're recording, the Bunwurrung and Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation, and we pay respect to their elders, past and present. You're here with me, Josh Reed Jones, he, him, and today I'm catching up with amateur boxer, Sunny Coast trainer, ultra marathon runner, gym owner, world record holder, father, part-time media personality, and full-time bundle of joy, Jamie Milne, he, him. Thanks for bringing the Sunny Coast weather down to Melbourne, mate. How are you?
Oh, good, brother. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Welcome. You got a lot going on at the moment. There's some things in the pipeline, some things that have just finished up in the pipeline. So why don't we just whip it all the way back to Aotearoa. Not whip it out, whip it back. Tell us a little bit about young Jamie, because you're 40 now, so we've got a bit of ground to cover.
Oh, Jesus Christ. How long have you got, man?
All the time in the world for you, my friend.
Oh, jeez, you started flirting already.
Here we go.
Man, I was born in a beautiful place in the Bay of Plenty called Rotorua. I didn't live... I was only there till I was about sort of 15, 16. Great place to grow up. Heaps of culture. Something that I really miss, actually, and I find as I've starting to mature a little bit. And
it's finally starting.
I'm still waiting. I love the way you're like,
Yeah. I miss all the cultural stinky mud.
Oh, man.
Of Rotorua.
It really does. For those that have, if you've ever travelled to Rotorua, it's like one of those places you can travel around the world and some things can become a bit of a blur. But if you've ever been to Rotorua, you generally don't forget it. It kind of smells like eggs and socks and ass. But it is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. The people there are unreal and the culture is abundant. Like it's really good. So like I said, I find as I'm getting a little bit older, I feel like I'm sort of being drawn back to those fundamental roots, things that I learnt and how I was raised and stuff like that. So yeah, I was only there a little bit and then straight into the Royal New Zealand Navy when they...
At 4 years old?
Yeah, I was 3.5, something like that.
Early entry. Yeah, they saw potential,
So
we can develop this guy into a cold-blooded killer in the Navy here.
Salty sea dog. So I went really young, spent a number of years in the military, and then, travelled, man, and ended up in this glorious and beautiful country, which I now call home. And I'm very, very proud and privileged to live here and to be here. And Queensland and Australia definitely opened up a lot of doors for me that I found very difficult to break through in New Zealand. So, and to definitely not blaming New Zealand, but I think perhaps probably myself there, a little bit of lack of maturity and adulting and stuff like that. So, as I grew a bit older, it just seemed to all fall into place. So I'm living a really awesome life, man, on the Sunshine Coast. Place is alive, it's happening, it's growing, it's developing, and I'm proud to be part of that, part of that community.
How could you not love being in a place called the Sunshine Coast?
Oh,
I mean, really.
They get I love the names of the cities in Australia.
They're good.
Let's call it the Sunshine Coast.
There is also the Costa del Sol in Spain, which I'm pretty sure just means Sun Coast also. So you guys can battle it out for the superior Sunshine Coast in the world.
Yeah.
You are 40 now, and you talk about being about maturity and stuff.
Yeah.
Does it feel any different? Do you feel like you've turned some corners to get where you are now?
That's a really good question, man. Like, does it feel different? I mean, I'm currently stroking my beard as we speak, and it is riddled. I feel like Gandalf. It's riddled with silver hair and looks like I've run through a cobweb like 4 or 5 times. But look, I do and I don't, man. There's a large part of me that feels like I'm trying to reverse middle age. You know, I hear people talking about that all the time, and I don't know, man. Like people, as you know, in that sort of that middle age bracket, you know, people are going to the Olympics in their 30s, and wasn't there a gymnast? Oh no, actually there was the marathon runner, the female. I can't remember her name, but she was like 37, 38. She just nailed and got a gold in at the Olympics. 20 years ago, you just would never have dreamed. You just pick everybody as, you know, the 14, 15-year-old Romanian gymnast, or, you know, if you were past 22, 23, you were deemed as, you know, going out to pasture. You're tapped out.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's not the case. And people are reversing middle age, and I reckon I'm trying to get on that float, you know. I'm part of the party. I'm trying to do it.
Lead the charge.
Yeah, man. So there are certainly significant changes that I can feel. It really is. For me, it's feeling like a bit of an inside game. You know, I'm not chasing career so much. I'm not chasing things. I'm trying to learn who I really am, and that's really coming to fruition at the moment.
You like who you're learning about? When you learn about yourself?
I just want a deeper voice, bro. Like, that's
I'll
all I want.
I'll do my best.
Everything the light touches is yours, Jamie. That dark place.
Not the dark place. We don't go over there. We don't go there.
We don't touch the dark place. Yeah, man, I do like the person I'm becoming. I feel like I'm getting closer to the truth of who I really am, and that is awesome. It's a great place. It's a great journey to be on.
Is it a warts and all journey as well, or are you stepping into the light and going, I'm just going to focus on and magnify those things, or I'm turning over stones and going, actually, yeah, these are some things that are probably a bit shit, and I should probably either acknowledge them and work around them, or deal with them, or make amends, or you know, is it like a two-part situation in that space?
Oh, 100%, man. It's like the whole adversity thing, you know, makes you really appreciate your morality, you know, like the uncomfortable nature of life, and being vulnerable, and being being a bloke and having to, like I said, be vulnerable in terms of, like, you know, ask for help with things and apologize and say sorry, and you know, take responsibility and things that when I was younger, and, you know, I just no chance, you know, just dodging bullets left, right and center, and you know, addressing those things now, it's really, it's difficult, but it's really rewarding. You know, it's that whole sort of leaning into the discomfort of, you know, I can quite happily do it athletically, and, you know, I've done some pretty crazy things in my time, as have most people, but really leaning into the difficult stuff, like, you know, the uncomfortable conversations. And, you know, I'm a fucking obsessive people pleaser. I want everybody to love me, you know, and having to realize that not everybody loves you, man. Like, some people think you're a dick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, really?
Why? What's wrong with them?
Just the tip, or the whole thing?
The whole situation.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that's been, yeah, it's a real journey, and I'm sure other people, you know, that take similar journeys, man. But I think if you can lean into the stuff that really scares you and you find difficult, I think you really get to appreciate your morality and your time on this planet before you go to the dirt. Once
you start challenging yourself physically and you push into that space, which you've done successfully for a long time now, do you think that is, you know, could be potentially a way of avoiding other tough things by always just hanging your hat on, yeah, but I do this thing, which is really, like, I don't always avoid the hard stuff. Like, I do these challenges and they're fucking hard.
Yeah.
But really, yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of hard, like, I haven't spoken to my old man in that capacity for 10 years at the same time, which I should have probably done or should probably do. It's a different kind of hard thing, but
yeah,
I've gone, well, I'm doing a hard thing that's enough, or that's good enough, and I can sort of avoid those other difficult, shadowy conversations if I do that.
Yeah, I think you probably nailed it there, man. I mean, that was certainly the case. As you know, I've been doing crazy stuff for a while now, and always thought of it as I know David Goggins, the Navy SEAL dude, talks about it, like being running and stuff, like being a vessel. And I totally agree. Like these feats of endurance, suffering, testing your grit, your will, your spirit, and all these things, it really does. It's like flipping open Pandora's box, underneath is all this other hidden shit. And it's like, oh man, I've got the capacity to go here. Am I going to go here? And like I said, as getting older and stuff like that, I'm, trying to address some of those things.
Yeah.
Because
you can take it as you can do these hard physical things and then say, I do hard stuff, or you can lean on your success in the hard physical stuff and say, okay, I've been through hard things. I'm ready to attack these other hard things that I haven't done, using my grit or the hard, tough feelings I've had previously, but in this space. It can kind of go both ways. Yeah. You can use it to hide, or you can lean on it, walk into that cave, that deep, dark cave. Yeah. Do you have any advice for your younger self that you think you might have actually listened to? Because everyone's got pithy advice. They're like, oh, don't do this. But I mean, if you were to think about 20-year-old Jamie and you're going to tell him something and you're like, I'm going to tell him something that he actually might listen to, not just what I know with experience now that he definitely won't listen to. What kind of advice would you give that guy?
Wow, man, that is a very thought-provoking question.
Because everyone can be like, oh, do these things. And you're like, but think about what you were like when you were 20. You just tell this 40-year-old to piss off and not listen. It's the same. You tell every kid in high school it's the best time you'll ever have, and they all say, shut up, I can't wait to leave. Yeah. And then everyone leaves and goes, geez, working is not as good as hanging out at school and doing not much. Yeah.
Look, if I could give any advice, and I mean, you do this really well, man. You're like such a spokesperson for this. I mean, a couple of things. I mean, one is just literally just be nice, and that's a huge one. It was something I really struggled with as a young person. I was an alcoholic. I was angry at the world, like resenting people, and resent such a powerful word. It's the sister of evil and bloody hate and stuff like that. So I was really angry, man, and I think to shine a real spotlight on mental health, mental well-being, and these alcohol fueled dark times and things like that. Like when I was younger, I didn't really realize what was going on, and I was in these dark little holes and feeling like such a failure, and struggling to make eye contact, to talk to people, to fess up to poor lifestyle choices I'd made or mistakes, and I think the advice that I would give myself at 20 years of age, and even other young adults, is put a real priority and value on your mental health, and try and find that courage to be. I used to think courage meant getting into a scrap with a couple of people and not getting the shit kicked out of yourself. That was like, oh man, he's hard as nails. Where in actual fact, courage is getting help, getting support, reaching out, leaning on the people that are close to you. I've had quality people around me my whole life, but at the time I may not have necessarily seen the depth of the quality and the love and the care that certain people had for me, because I was too busy trying to be cool and stuff like that. So I think lean into that, look after that thing between your ears, and don't ignore all these signs.
You talk about resentment, and it's a funny one, because it often stems from a feeling like you're missing out on something, like you're not getting what you're owed, or you don't have the opportunities you believe you're entitled to, or people aren't doing what you expect of them. Where was that coming from?
Man, it's something that I've been trying to discover with myself. And like I said, I'm on this massive ultra marathon of self-discovery, and I'm scratching around trying to piece things together, and I often do wonder that, bro. I kind of think, why was I so angry? And I know when they talk about alcoholism and alcoholics and things like that, they say that the urge to drink is stronger than you. And I would really agree, like the urge to just get loaded, you know, and start licking the windows and drink a dozen beers and be a lunatic was just outweighed anything, you know. And to pinpoint resentment on one particular person, I was looking for any excuse, anybody to blame, to take no responsibility, take no ownership, take no accountability. Like, as a young man, it was, you know, everybody else's fault. Everybody else other than myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's an easy way to feel resentful.
Yeah.
When you don't take any responsibility.
Mm.
I think it also leaves you feeling helpless, because it's easy to walk through life going, every person who doesn't get this, every person who doesn't do exactly what I want is a dickhead.
Mm.
And then so you're absolving yourself, I suppose, of responsibility. But at the same time, you're living in a world full of dickheads, and that's pretty depressing. So, like, you might as well just drink. Like, what's the point of doing anything for anybody else? They're all dickheads. They don't know. What's the point? I'm just going to drink. It's all about me anyway.
Yeah.
And you end up, because you've got that contrast between the advice that you would give that person, which is look out for those people who are looking out for you, which is get out of your own self, look around you at what's happening, have a bit of awareness of the world around you. But the resentment is coming from a space which is like, it's all about me and everything happens to me. And if you've done 10 nice things for me and one shitty one, I'm going to just focus on that relentlessly and just use that as an excuse to just, again, focus on me.
Yeah, 100%.
You end up kind of resenting yourself in that capacity, really, and you're resenting your ability to participate in the world that you've created, which is a world full of people who suck.
Yeah.
So why would you want to? And all this bad stuff happens to you in the world, so you might as well just sit at home and drink and
man.
be
I
a
was
rat bag.
the total consumer like that. I just, you know, consumed, like just take, and there was very little give. I mean, it didn't. Like, I'm probably painting myself in a pretty poor light here, but the needle did shift, and it took a couple of catalysts to get it shifting. But that was certainly me, man. I was just consuming. You know, I wasn't giving to those around me, the people that care about me, my community. You know, the Defence Force. You know, I mean, the list goes on. That
shift, did that shift come after the scales shifted all the way up to 116 kilos?
Oh, it was a beautiful brown ball.
You weren't even brown. God, man! You didn't even have a tan. That was an inside tan, if ever I've seen one.
Yeah. Oh, it was delicious. I was a perfect circle. It actually did, bro. And look, do you mind if I tell you a quick little story?
Please. Story away.
Oh, story away.
Always got time.
All right, man. So, like, I left the military, and I was about 75 kilos, dripping wet. And, I left the military, and again, playing the victim role really, really well. Like, I was meant to go into the police force. So I was leaving the Navy to go into the police force, right? So I was doing all the recruiting, and I was like, just done the ship's divers course in the Navy, and I was like, man, I'm gonna go be a police diver. That's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna start with the first steps, just being a constable, you know, and this is gonna be cool. So I do all the recruiting. Terrible formal education. So I left school at 4.5. No.
Did you run away and join the circus and flush the Navy?
Yeah. So then I remember, like, I even think, I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seemed very ironic that all my exam marks were like 50%, like mathematics 50%, you know, aptitude.
They just wanted to keep you moving on.
50%. I'm like, wow, I passed, man. I've never passed a test in my life. So it really felt like, they're going to welcome me into their family. So I do this recruiting, right? Short of the long, get into a bit of a dust up. And I had literally gone to the commissioned interview. They were like, I was in, man. I was going to Wairua to go to the police college. But I got into, found another excuse to play the victim role really well. Got into a bit of a drunken dust-up, got arrested. And pretty much the recruiter was like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, and I never forget it, man. I walked into the police recruiting thing because I got called in there on the Monday or whatever it is. So good news travels pretty fast.
New Zealand is a big place.
That's right. and I go and Auckland there in Green Lane, and the recruiter's like, we have never in the history of police recruiting at this stage ever had this before. Like, what were you thinking? And I'm just like, this dude, he was, I can't even remember the waffle I came up with, the no ownership, no accountability type stuff. And they were like, pretty much don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, and we'll see you in court type thing. So that was the start, man. That was the start of my spiral. And then I thought, man, flag this. Well, I got diversion or something, so I didn't get a criminal conviction at that stage. And I was like, I'm out of here, man. I'm going overseas. And so for the next 9 months, from 75 kilos, I managed to make myself pregnant pretty much on steak and kidney pies and lager and fast food and no sleep and partying and junk food and you name it, man. And this was pre-Facebook days, so it's not
fortunately for you, because there aren't many photos floating around of this time.
Yeah, thank God, man. The early 2000s, so that it wasn't, social media platforms weren't happening. You had to sort of ring people and say, like, I'm here and I'm living large and you should check this out. Anyway, it got really, really large very quickly, and I think if I remember correctly, my so I got up to 116 kilos. And the thing is it happens really slow. Like, it happens really slow. Like, even though it was 9 months and that's a substantial weight gain, it's not like, you wake up one morning, you're like, oh, Jesus, I can't put the chinos on. I can't get my brothel creeper shoes on. Things don't fit, and so it just happens. And, you kind of go up a few pant size. You're like, oh, there's a bit of pudding hanging over my pants, and I'm like, well, no, it's not too bad. I can still sort of, you see a couple of photos, you're like, oh, yeah, right, I'm starting to get a bit steady in the breeze.
Camera adds 10 pounds.
Yeah, that's right. Put that camera away, Put the camera away. So anyway, it was my grandfather's, it was around Chrissy time, so I get the date of his birthday, I get confused, can't remember if it was 75th, 70th, something like that. So I came home to New Zealand. And of course, people hadn't seen me. When they had last seen me, I was 75 kilos. When I come back, I had put on all this weight. So I come skidding into Auckland Airport, and I remember like seeing my uncle and auntie, and some cousins and stuff like that. And that real awkward sort of,
oh, Jamie.
Wow. Or it was worse than that. They kind of looked at me, but looked past me, like waiting for Jamie to arrive. Yeah. But this new improved version turned up, right? And then when we got through the sort of the awkward, like, oh, whoa, oh my God.
There he is.
There he is. And it was cuddles and kisses and things like that. So anyway, we head back to my hometown of Rotorua. And we go to the family birthday, the family gathering. There's about 14, 15 people at the table. We're all sitting there, and I'll never forget it. So it was an oxtail stew, and there was some ham and some salads, and we're all sitting at the table, and it was just really, really odd, man. It was an odd feeling, like I did feel like I was being, whether I was correct or not, I felt like I was being judged, and people were looking at me and kind of like, wow, what's going on here, man? Whoa. And I remember just eating the stew and dipping bread rolls in these little white Tom Thumb bread rolls, I think they're called. There's lovely little oven baked numbers.
Yep.
And I'd made my way through about 38 of those. And I had half
You were one of those.
That was brown, bro. Come on. And, there's a row of Heineken bottles in front of me. And when you're carrying quite a bit of weight and there's a fire and it's warm, you sweat, man. You sweat when you eat. And I was really good at it. Like there was an abundance of bodily fluid going into my oxtail stew, running down my nose. And my grandfather, like when people talk about, and I'm sure some of the listeners have people in their lives that they, consider a mentor or a pivotal figure in their lives. My grandfather was this person, like he ran his last marathon in his 70s. He was well respected, well loved in the athletic and football community back home. Everybody knew him, man, and he was who I wanted to be. I just didn't quite know how I was going to go about it, and this was not a good start. And anyway, he was usually a man of many words, but he was never vulgar and he was never rude. And the way I would describe my grandfather is he was unapologetically masculine, but he was a gentleman. So he was a referee for footy for forever, and he was a Scottish man, and in pretty much an all Māori community. It was a brave move, and refereeing footy with, you know, a bunch of dudes and gang members abusing you is a pretty bold act.
Yep.
So he was a brave dude, but he was a lovely man. Anyway, he just turns around and says to me in front of everybody, I got no warning, man. I got no lead up for this one. You see where this is going?
Yep.
And he just looked across the table and he hadn't said much to me. And I'm like sitting there sweating bullets, shoulder deep in oxtail stew. And he's like, Jamie, you look absolutely disgusting. And I can't remember for sure if he dropped the F-bomb. I don't think so. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, that did he just say that to me? What? You know, and then I was like, and then he said, where's my, I don't even know you. Like, where's my grandson gone? Like, what the hell have you been doing? And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, I'm totally getting sprayed. And, you know, he just wished for the ground to
family
open up.
spray as well. Everyone's
oh,
there.
Man.
Auntie in the corner like, You did. We were all thinking it.
Another bread roll. Yeah, so I was totally peeking out. Went quiet. Place went quiet, man. And I was just waiting for like a little rub on the small of my back or just a little...
Or the big of your back.
Or just grab a bit of, you know, just someone to hold me or something, man. And I remember just thinking, oh, fuck, get me out of here. I hopped up, started collecting the plates. 4 of them were mine. Like grabbing everything, walked into the kitchen and, man, just totally lost it. And no one was there at the time. Just started crying and I couldn't, you know, when you've had a few beers and you just can't close the floodgates.
Yep.
It was really weird. It stung so much, man. Like to hear it from him. And my stepmom comes in, Lucy, and she's like, oh, Jamie, don't worry about it. You know, your granddad's had a couple of beers. And I was thinking, man, he'd be lucky if he had one like that, you know, he meant every single word. And so, you know, I'm getting the cuddles and the rub of the back and I'm doing the dishes and I really wanted the night to be over. And I started reflecting and thinking, what the fuck have you done, man? Like, I thought I've really got to I've got to make a shift. I've got to change. My life has to change. Like, I've just been schooled by, you know, this man that I love so much. And as much as it really stung at the time, it was exactly what I needed to hear. Maybe with a little rub of the back or something like that. Maybe not so harsh, but who knows, man? Maybe it was exactly how it was meant to be. So I went to bed, and I remember thinking, tomorrow I'm going to get up. And I remember thinking, I used to be fit, man. I used to be really fit. I was a Navy ship's diver. I was so fit. Like, let's get back to that. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to do a 5K run, and I'm changing my life. And man, that was like 15 years ago, something like that. And I remember I got up, I did that 5K run, hungover to bits, almost had an asthma attack. The 5K run took me about 4.5 hours. It was brutal. And man, I never look back. And I tell people, you know, if people are kind enough to hear the story or patient enough, I tell people, like, not to impress people, but to impress upon them that, you know, in light of all the crazy athletic things I've done, it wasn't always that way, and I was that.
That's like the Dean Carnesi's story as well.
Man, it is it,
he
bro.
Just like stepped up one day, went for a run like in his school shoes or whatever, you know, in his work shoes, and was like, called his missus like, you can come and pick me up now, you know?
Yeah, it went across the Golden Gate Bridge or something in the middle of the night. So that was my little catalyst. And bro, you know, I've gone up and down in weight, but not really a hell of a lot.
You are a specimen now. No. Stop it. You are an absolute. I mean, no one wants to feel crap, and you know, you're not living your best life when you're not even healthy. You know, this is really, you know, you went from a matter of not looking after yourself and to really looking after yourself and taking pride in what your body can do.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you are married to the idea of how your body looks as much as like, what can I get it to do?
Yeah.
I think that's, which is healthy as well, because we can sit here and be like, oh, the catalyst was this kind of number, but it's also that first 5Ks, it takes 4 hours, and the sweating when you're eating and the feeling rubbish when you're just walking around, to now having such great utility, and having previously before that had such great utility in your body. Yeah. The journey back to that is fun and engaging. Totally.
Mate, you summed it up in a nutshell, and like, you can't. And what I realise now, again, with a bit more the old luxury of hindsight, I realise you can't. Well, you can. Sorry, you can, but it's really difficult to get after what's important to you in life without this level of health literacy, like sleeping a bit better, not stressing so much, don't smash yourself with booze and drugs all the time, and eat a bit better and get moving. It's really hard to go after the good stuff and be that for your family and stuff when you don't have that a degree of health literacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. On
the health literacy and being able to spread that message, how good's the Jamie Milne training team?
Oh, man, fortunate is a word I would use, man. Fortunate is a word I would use. We just got such an amazing... It gives me goosebumps, bro. Like, I'm dead set. Would have to be one of the most fortunate people on this planet. And I love that saying, your pain leads you to your purpose. And that's how I really, or passion leads you to your purpose is, it depends which way you look at it. But it has led me and put me in the lap of just an amazing city, amazing community, and the people that, hang in the four walls of our gym on the sunny coast. Man, I'm a very fortunate man.
You do a lot at Jamie Milne training. You've got obstacle racing, you've got regular training of people boxing. Yeah. In the message of health literacy and getting people up to speed with exploring what's possible, what kind of process do you go through there for that? Do you just say, come in, try what you think's interesting, or do you go, we kind of want you to try all the different things, or do this because you look like you'll be up to this particular task or this particular domain of training? Yeah.
In answer to your question, I think our age demographic in the gym, like would if you're talking about an average, it's probably about 30 years of age. So we do have young ones, and we even have an 82-year-old who's one of my favourite clients and friends, Primrose. God bless her, Primmy.
Shout out to Primrose.
Yeah, hey girl. I love her, man. She's amazing. And I think what happens, bro, is these people, middle-aged people, or knocking on middle-aged door, they get the surge of, like, especially the ones that have, like, just been obsessed with development of career, or the mums that's had 3 or 4 children and that's been their world. They've been all about it and tripled down on being a lawyer, or we've got doctors and lawyers and all sorts in the facility, and then they start training right, and they come into a place like ours that is, people talk about, you got to have a niche, or the Americans, the Yanks call it a niche, and they're like, when you get your niche, you get rich. And I'm like, man, fuck that. Like, I know so many different ways or methods to get to health literacy. So I try and share that. So to say we have a niche, we don't. And it's kind of like, well, here's what I can do. And then people discover this level of athleticism, and you've got like the chartered accountant who goes, holy fuck, man, I'm actually unreal. Like, have you seen me with the gloves on? Have you seen how I move? Like, watch my smoke. Like, people discover this inner Olympian, and it's unreal. Like, the level of athleticism in our little humble little facility in Warana on the Sunshine Coast is, man, it's honestly unsurpassed. We literally have world ranked people in those 4 walls and everything in between. Shivers, I don't think I answered your question.
No, you did. No, you did. Yeah, you're like, we don't have a niche. Just come in, just get amongst it, and we'll just unlock it.
Yeah, get excited.
Do the stuff you know about. I'm as a bit of a generalist and someone who likes to throw his hat in a few rings. I'm fully on board with that. Give it a few goes. Today we're enjoying this. If you want to do something else, we'll give that a crack. It's all good. That's.
And why not, man?
Why not?
I mean, you're a testament to it. I know we've run an ultra marathon together, and my lord,
we did. Yeah.
My highlight was applying. It ain't easy being greasy. Applying the lubricant to your chafing. I mean, you
greased me. You greased me good. There's like 4 photos from that day of stuff happening. 2 of them are you greasing me up in the groin
from knee to nipple. And I mean, I don't even think I've washed my 2 forefingers since then.
No, they endure to this day.
Yeah. No. Anyway, but I mean, and then just recently you were boxing. I know, man. You're a great ambassador for that generalist fitness. Have a crack at everything, man. Like,
I changed because of competitive sports, which I did for so long, And it's hard because it's not health. The competitive people get confused between when you train to be really good at something, or you train to be very competitive at something, you do it at the expense of other things. So I've had all my fingers have been broken. I've had a knee reconstruction. I've torn hammies, quads. I've been hospitalised with neck injuries. I've cracked my arm bones, broken bones in my feet. Jesus. I've done heaps of and the list goes on. It's not health. You're training to be good at a specific thing. So I'm training to be fast. I'm training to have good hands on the football field. And I'm copping a beating along the way. And I'm giving up lots of other things. I'm giving up, say, flexibility, or I'm giving up strength, or I'm giving up all these other things in the pursuit of being really good at this sport. And you might look aesthetically like you're reasonably fit, but there's nothing more humbling than to just walk into a sport you've never done as a quote-unquote fit person and give it a crack and just realise, okay, I suck at this because all I've done is train specifically to compete in this other domain. And as I got a little bit older, too old to compete in that level of sports, I was like, what do I want to be able to do? Well, I want to be able to, if someone calls me up and says, like I did a couple of weeks ago, and go, do you want to do a strongman competition? And I go, yeah, all right, I'll give that a crack. Like I can move the weights pretty much, I'm pretty sure, and all right, let's do it. And, who wants to jump in the ring, or who wants to go for, I can go for a run if anyone wants to go for a run. Yeah. I think it's nice to be able to just jump into stuff as it's happening. And with all the years of dealing with people in the fitness industry now, I have like so many friends as well doing different things that I just like to go and just have bro sessions with everybody and just train and just see what everyone's doing. What are you guys doing? All right, well, I might need to knock 20 kilos off what you're doing because this is what you do every day, but I can still hang. But I can still get amongst it. Yeah, I can get amongst it, and that's great. More excuses to get outside, have a laugh. So true, man. Try some stuff. It's good.
But it's nice to have that like you said, have that level of semi-decency at anything. Yep. Try your hand at it. Get involved. Get excited. And I'm going to try something different. It's so good, man.
Well, I made a conscious decision to change from. And I'm rabidly competitive, so that never goes away, I don't think. But my focus is not to be super competitive, but to go, what's 65-year-old Josh able to do? Well, hopefully he's able to just still run around a little bit and, go surfing and hit a trail run slowly if he wants. That's what I want to. That's I want to gift that guy a functional working body that isn't completely ruined from years of abuse on the football field or in the gym or
so
doing
true,
those sort of things.
I was grateful the other day. I got this bought a Beamer off my friend, one of my best mates.
Ka-ching.
And it's gold. It's Chardonnay.
He's Chardonnay.
I call it Luanda. No, anyway, but I run out of petrol. That guy. I'm that guy. And I had a client waiting for me, and I ran out of petrol, and I'm like, dude, like they're talking to the Luanda, dude, Chardonnay Beamer. And like the petrol light come on. And when you look at the petrol light and like, cool, you usually got 30 clicks, 50 clicks.
Not in a Beamer.
You got about 2 clicks.
You got 1 minute.
Bro, so I run out of gas and I got a client waiting for me. I'm like, oh, no way. And I was about, I don't know, man, like 2K away from a servo.
Guess who's jogging to training?
Guess who's jogging, bro. So I just, and it's times like that I thought, it's hot. I'm legging it on a main road with a petrol canister, little jerry can. And I thought, it's times like this I'm grateful for that health literacy, running out of fuel. And I just thought I'd share that with you, bro.
It's great. I do recommend, post our experience of doing that 60K together, people train as well for specific things, because I didn't, and it was hard. It was a long way, and I was heavy, and it was not.
Oh, you're still dreamy though, bro.
Oh, I'm just glad I got through it. One foot after the other.
You made me laugh. I kept messaging you randomly. I'm like, how you going, bro? You're getting a few runs in, and you're like, oh yeah, man, we trained the other day. We're doing some deadies and stuff, and I think we had about a 400 meter run to warm up, and yeah, man, that's about all I've done. I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
60 Ks and you run 400 meters. That's unreal.
Yeah, I counted up on the Garmin before we did the run, and it was like 20 Ks of running in the last 4 months or something. And I was like, oh, I have buggered this prep up. But
you nailed it, bro.
It's a brain game, baby. You
it's an inside job.
Just get stuck in. Bro. Speaking of brain game, and just getting on with it and being able to muscle your way through things like that, being a little bit unprepared and just getting stuck in and having a crack. You talk about passion and motivation.
Yep.
How important is identifying the difference to commitment-wise to feeling like putting your hand up and saying, oh, yeah, I'll give that a crack, and then tapping out and putting your hand up and going, all right, I will literally leave it all on the floor to give this a crack?
Man, that's a great question. Oh, you got the good ones. Look, bro, I think motivation and inspiration. I know you didn't ask about inspiration, but I know motivation and inspiration, I put them in the same bracket and they run out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can end up on fumes with those things. So the fucking Facebook memes and Instagram posters and your fluffy videos and stuff that people post, like that stuff runs out for sure. And then you're left with the big question, you know, what's driving you, what's pushing you. I think you definitely got to be passionate about things, whatever you're sort of getting into or wanting to get into. I think it's that old Simon Sinek thing, man, like finding out why you want to do whatever it is that you want to do, but being really raw and honest with yourself. You know, people, as he says, you know, people don't care what you do, people don't care how you do it, they care why you do what you do. So sort of tripling down on why you're doing things. So say, for example, if I wanted to have a master's boxing fight, you know, like, why is that so important to you? And once you sort of it's the old Shrek thing too, man. It's the onion analogy. Go through the layers, ask yourself five whys, why. And as they say, if you're peeling an onion in the kitchen, you know those big jumbo brown Queensland onions, the big gnarly ones?
Big jumbo brown Queensland PTs as well.
Yeah.
Look at him. Peel him off.
Peel him off. And when you're just smashing through that onion, you know, you're going to make yourself a lovely beef cassoulet. And
maybe an oxtail stew.
Wash it down with 18 bottles of Heineken and 48 Tom Thumb.
48 Tom Thumb buns. Yeah.
So you get to the center of the onion, right? And in theory, if it's one of those jumbo brown onions and you get to the core of the onion, most of us are generally crying and we're in tears. And I think if you ask yourself enough whys and you get to the core reason as to why you are doing what you're doing, I mean, that's the honesty there, man. That's the core belief, and that's the core driver as to, you know, what it is you want to do. And when all the motivation, inspiration runs out, that why, man, that will get you out of bed at 4:45 in the morning and get you moving when you really don't feel like doing it and you'd rather watch the grass grow. Like, you will keep going. And I mean, I can talk for 20 minutes on this topic. I've thought a lot about it, and I've also reflected on how I've achieved certain things that I've achieved, you know, and weight loss being one of them. Man, it's that, it's why, and then it's habits and rituals, bro. Like, once those habits are locked in, ready, steady, go. Whatever it is you want. And as they say, like, habits, the definition of habit is to do something by default without having to think. So an example would be shoelaces, tying your shoelaces, brushing your teeth. I was going to say some other things, but just a tip. No. So, you know what I mean? And if you can get that going, bro, you'll achieve anything. Like, anybody can achieve anything, man, honestly, with those habits.
I've been through this kind of conversation, this Simon Sinek conversation, a bunch of times, and like most things that I've seen in the space of trying to, you know, unpack why people do things and how to get people being more productive and enjoying their lives more and doing those, feeling better just generally. And I see that there's a kind of bastardization of looking for why. There's a great strength and conditioning coach that does some presentations. We saw him. He was talking about the effect of, say, loud music in the weights room, and they're not motivating. They've just increased arousal. They're in an increased state of arousal at that moment, which is fine, but it's not motivation, because the reason they're there is to get better, to play professional football and do these things. And we shouldn't confuse the two. You're either driven to do this thing, and you're enjoying a bit of a pump-up song and feeling like it's double ready to go, or you're not really driven to do it and you're just riding on a little bit of an endorphin rush and that sort of thing. And I've always felt that when we talk about a why, I see people gaming that by just changing their why all the time and not committing to it and not really understanding what that means. And so I've felt that people need to decide who they want to be first. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who never quits? Like, running an ultra marathon is neither here nor there to me. I could do it. I could not do it in my life. I could have got through my life without doing it. But who I am, or who I'd like to try and be, the person who I envisage myself to be and that I'd like to be, is a person who does what he says he'll do. Is a person that doesn't just stop because it's a little bit uncomfortable. That does things that are harder for other people. And it doesn't matter what that is. That might be the ultra marathon. It might be just staying late in the office. It might be just doing the work or trying to get that thing shipped in time for somebody, or whatever it is. That when you start with who you are, then it's on you, and you can change the scenarios that you're in, and you can change the way that it manifests, I suppose, the way that you express it. But you're always holding yourself accountable to the kind of person that you want to be. Yeah. And the things that upset us the most are when we act contrary to that. Yeah. Not when we do particular arbitrary actions, but when we do things that are contrary to the person that we would like to be ourselves. Yeah. So someone who doesn't care about tapping out can tap out quite easily and live with themselves without any dramas. But someone who holds themselves in high regard in that space, if you went, hey man, you get defensive about it, you get annoyed, all those things. The only things that really upset me are things that are a little bit like, I already think that, I want to be that. And if you're like looking a bit podgy, I'm like, it's because I've been slack, I haven't looked after myself, and that's something that I try and do. Yeah. And if I haven't been, that's a reflection on the person that I am, not just like why. And then the whys sort of change over time. Yeah. Because you might be why because I want to be jacked and 20. Why because I've got a young family. Why because I care about my partner, or why because I've got a kid on the way, or why because of business. And I see people manipulate their why to justify their behaviours. Yeah. But when you decide about the person that you want to be, it's very difficult to game that and feel good. Yeah. Because you're no longer worried about external things. You're worried about who you are running through those moments. Do you think that relates to that kind of motivation and being able to do stuff?
So cool, bro. Yeah, no, I completely and utterly agree. It's like they say, sometimes you don't know what the right thing is to do, but you definitely know what the wrong thing is. You get that feeling, you get that sick feeling in your gut. You're like, oh man, that doesn't align with me, man. That's not what I'm about. And I think being imperfectly human, we always encounter those things. We can, as you say, you can align and do your best to forge ahead to who you identify as, who you want to be, and your why. And you hit those little speed bumps, but you totally get the alarm bells going off and the little seedy feeling in your tummy, like, oh, that wasn't such a great, that's a dick move, that's not me, man. Yeah. So I would agree, actually, and it's something that has sat in the back of my mind about the bastardization of the why. And I remember when we first opened, and my ex-business partner Lee and I, we first opened Jamie Milne Training. And we spent like 2.5 days like trying to establish a mission statement and some core values. And there was, the two of us, plus we had a couple of trainers working for us, and my oldest son, and we all got this little apartment at Moffat Beach on the coast, and we literally, man, just surfed. We were like, no alcohol, no stimulants, let's just surf and let's come up with this mission statement. And still to this day, bro, like I reflect and I look at things that I'm doing in my company and with people that I work with. Am I getting closer or further away to this why or this mission statement? And bro, that is like my true north. That is my magnetic north. That's my everything. And that's my compass. You know what I mean? Like, I suppose that, you need that, because when you know who you want to be, you'll deviate, you'll make mistakes. But if you're constantly moving the goalposts, you never can hold yourself accountable. Yeah. So if you're like, okay, I made a mistake, that's not how I would like to do things generally, but I know, because I know what I actually would like to do. I know how I expect myself to perform in those situations. I know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. Okay, we all make mistakes and we all drift, and then that happens. But you just drift aimlessly if you don't have a north star. Oh man, it's a lot of people, bro. So
many.
And I don't know about you. I find it really, really hard, and I become empathetic and sympathetic to some of these people. It's like, come on, man, we can't just exist. We've got to contribute. Because I was that person. So, it's human nature to judge. We like to think we don't judge people, but we do.
Yeah.
But I judge from a place of empathy. It's like, oh, come on, man, if I could just get you to just go a bit deeper on what it is you're all about, or what's important, or but yeah, you're right, there's a lot of people, man, they're just bobbing. They're like a cork in the water. They're just bobbing around. The tide goes that way and they're going that way. Tide goes the other way because they haven't got that north yet. They don't know who they are or what they're getting after.
And the ability to just sit in the pocket for long enough to get closer as well.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people pick their purpose before they've started in that direction. And it's like, I'm going to do this thing because X, I'm going to change the world by doing this, and you haven't even started yet. Why don't you just start and do it, because it's important to you to be really good at what you're doing, and you want to be great at what you're doing, and you want to give yourself the best chance to make a difference in some capacity. But let's not hang it all up on this outcome that may or may not happen. It's a long way in the future, because that's hard. It's hard for people to stay motivated to a goal 10 years in the future. That's unusual for people.
Well, it's not sexy,
No, it's very not sexy.
The slow burn is hard to market. Slow burn, like nobody, a good friend of mine is doing really well in business, like really, really, really well. And I'm so proud of him, man. But, oh my God, this dude has worked his guts out, and it's 10, 11 years, and it's like, man, how do you market that? Like you don't get no 3-day course on the Gold Coast.
That's right. Yeah. It's not sexy.
And there's nothing sexy involved. And even with myself, man, like I spoke on a radio station, Hot FM, with Sam Coward about a week ago.
Shout out, Hot FM.
Yeah.
Hot FM.
Oh yeah. And anyway, and Sam said to me, and he did this intro. And it was nothing about being a brown butterball or anything like that, but it was like supersonic athlete and away he went. And I thought, oh, that's really cool, man. And that's radio. That's how, and it was really cool. I was sitting there like just patting myself on the back.
Just enjoying it, yeah.
Just like,
people pleasing, going, buttons going off, left, right and centre.
Use some coconut oil, man. This is awesome. This is going straight on me. And then afterwards, I kind of felt bad, and it's like, bro, it just, and I spoke to him in private, and I was like, man, it hasn't always been this way, man. And I showed him the 116 kilo photo and talked about the journey. I was like, that was 15 years ago. So 15 years, again, the slow burn, the not sexy. If somebody said, how do you run 2,000 kilometers? How do you run from Melbourne to the sunny coast? It's like, well, that takes like 15 years, bro, to develop.
A lot of Ks in the legs.
That's a lot of Ks. That's a fair bit of oxtail stew.
That's a lot of Nurofen.
Yes.
It's a lot of tape and a lot of Nurofen.
Yeah, but you can't sell that. You can't. How do you market that well? In 15 years, you're going to be, athletic. You can do whatever you like.
Yeah, people aren't keen.
People aren't going to buy into that, man.
I'm constantly fighting that. It must be nice to be in a place where you've got all the, you've got such a wide age range as well for work day to day. And you got Primrose at 82.
God bless her.
Another elderly woman who's been instrumental in shaping some of the stuff that you've done. Mary. Shout out to Mary.
Oh, Mary, biggie ups yourself.
Yeah. Tell us about Mary.
Oh man. So Mary was my my grandmother, or my nanny, I used to call her. Yeah, look, I've said it a few times before. I'm proud to say it again. The ethics, morals, and values that I did have in these dark times, in these dark evil times, were accredited to her. She was like a lady, and she used to say to me all the time, "Manners make the man." My knife and fork were
always busy.
It was like a blur. You've seen that Roadrunner cartoon? How his legs go around? It was kind of like that. Opening the door for ladies and stuff like that. It was really awesome. So she was instrumental in the good that I had, and I think a lot of what I do today is thanks to her. So she played a huge role in my upbringing, and has a lot of families in my hometown, the grandparents played, it was the whole, village raises a child type thing. So my grandparents played a huge role. My father was a solo dad. My mum left when I was, before I was crawling type thing. So it was just me and the old man. And anybody knows my old man, I can imagine it was a colourful upbringing, but he did his best, man. He did a good job. And but she got Alzheimer's and had a really lengthy battle. That was horrible to watch, and it was very tough for my grandfather and my family, and as a lot of people in Australia and that are living with loved ones with dementia. The disease of forgetfulness is brutal.
Yeah,
it's really bad. I think it's the second largest killer of Australians at the moment as well. So it's a little bit more full on than what people think. So
it's not that sexy because it's a slow burn too.
It is a very slow burn, bro.
It's degenerative diseases,
and
it's
rough. Not a nice one either. And people don't want a bar of that if they can help it.
It really tests your patience.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, okay, for a bit, and it gets worse. It's like, wow, and then people stop visiting and they end up in care, and it's...
Yeah.
Because you have very little connection as people. It's hard, you just get glimpses and you're like, it's a lot of work. And
some people, I think, depending on their character and connection to the person, not being recognised or acknowledged, and especially when the loved ones they've got no idea who you are, is tough, man.
Yeah.
It's so tough. Another quick story, bro. I'll tell a really quick one. My again, the measure of the man, my grandfather, like for 12 years, right? He went to the home where she was, and the rest of us, like I was in the Navy, and I'd be like, oh man, when I got back on leave, I'd go and visit on the weekend or something like that, So I was very sporadic. I can't watch The Notebook, bro. Like I've watched it once and just cried and bawled because I saw that.
Yeah.
Firsthand. Like it was almost written for my grandparents. Like I watched my grandfather, and he'd go and visit my grandmother, and he would feed her lunch and her dinner while he was working, running a little lawn mowing business. Milne's mowing.
Milne's mowing. Get amongst you doing Rotorua.
All the solo mums, get your lawns mowed. No. So anyway, and he used to go and do that. But at Christmas time, right, he would dress up as Santa Claus, and like Easter.
He'd dress up as Santa Claus, and he was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But that's okay. He wanted to get some use out of it.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because in the later stages of her life, when they talk about dementia and the disease of forgetfulness, how people, they're really vacating their body, their mind, they're on their way out. And my grandmother was in this particular stage of Alzheimer's. And we went in for Chrissy, and my grandfather got dollied up as Santa, and of course he was getting everybody to sit on his lap. It's like, oh man, it's a bit creepy, but yeah, keep going, you're doing a great job. And he'd organised, because my grandparents are Scottish, still got a very strong Scottish accent, and he'd organised a piper from a pipe band to come along and give the old pipes a toot on Christmas Day for all the people in the residence. And of course the old pipe, I'll try and do a bagpipe sound for you, bro. The piper comes into the communal area, and of course my grandmother had not said boo or even acknowledged anything for like a year, 18 months, a very long time. Piper comes in, he's just like, bah, and starts cracking into Scotland the Brave or some like awesome, powerful, potent Scottish song. And all of a sudden, my grandmother starts starts clapping and moving her feet. And I remember, man, just thinking, oh my God, like the power of music, bro.
Just gone right into that last bit of the brain that's got the memories.
Oh man, that last little synapse or whatever they call it. It's just like, it was there. And I remember thinking, oh, my grandfather, man, you're such a beautiful man. Like that is just unreal.
Well, all that experience kicked off 10 years of the first round of attempts and craziness.
Yeah.
Many miles for Mary.
Many miles for Mary.
You did indeed run many miles for Mary.
Yeah, did a lot of miles, man. So 10-year charity campaign. So every year my grandfather, as I said at the start, was an avid runner and athletic phenomenon, and he loved running, and I kind of thought, wow. And what happened was at her funeral, I was a pallbearer, had to get up and say a few words, but of course, me being me, I was a blubbering mess, and I couldn't speak, man. I couldn't get my words, couldn't do it. Tried to get up and just couldn't do it. And so I think they did everybody a favour and let me sit it out. But of course, as you get a bit older and you reflect, it felt like I didn't get a chance to say what I had to say, and farewell this beautiful lady. And so it took a few years, and like I said, it haunted me, bro. And haunt is not a word I use lightly. Anybody else that hasn't had a chance to say goodbye to somebody the way they would like to is tough. And so I thought each year I would do an ultra endurance sort of charity event. And 10 years ago, not a lot of people were sort of doing that type of thing, and I kind of thought, how do you do it? And I thought, I was sitting down with friends having dinner, and I thought, why don't we just run from Cairns to Townsville? This was in 2009, and they were like, what? Oh, actually, no, I think I said Cairns to Sydney initially, and they're like, righto, that's like...
Dial that back a bit, that's a very long way.
Easy. Yeah. Reel it in, mate, reel it in. And then we thought, what about Cairns to Townsville? And it's like, well, how do you do it? Do you ask the police, like the traffic people? Is it cool if we run on the highway? And then I remember a dude just saying, man, just do it, bro. Just don't ask. Just go and do it. And I was
Legend.
I was like, yeah, alrighty, okay. So trained a few of my friends and...
Got the high vis.
And that's how it started. And we've over the 10 years, we've raised over 50K for dementia-related charities, and I think in total for the 10 years, it's close to 100K for charity. So it's been a real awesome 10 years of purpose and charity and a bit of give back. And I mean, there's a lot of people doing cool stuff now, and yeah, after 10 years, I thought, and had so many good people involved over the years.
Hospitalised a couple.
We have hospitalised a couple of people.
Burpee 10,000 resulted in a hospitalisation, didn't it?
It did. It involved Ben Siplin. Yeah, he got a rhabdomyolysis and got hospitalised. We did to get that Guinness World Record. We got the unofficial Guinness World Record. We got 4,267 burpee broad jumps over 8.5 kilometres, 22.5 hours. And bro, you were there, man. You backed it.
Horrible.
You back these crazy things.
Why would you do that? It's insane to me. That's the do. Give me 1 second. It's the post guy. Thank you so much for listening to what is our first ever part 1 of a 2-part podcast with Jamie. We're super excited. We announced our partnership with Wairua and Jamie Milne for the next 10 years of exciting forward momentum, investigating the strength of the human spirit and how best to build it while looking after people in need. And we're super excited to get right into that in part 2. Listen out for it next week. If you enjoyed this episode and you also are passionate about helping people and looking after people in need and want to be a part of the Wairua JBN journey, please share it around. Let everybody know, tag them in, follow the pages and subscribe on our webpage. Remember that we care, you matter, kia kaha. Have an amazing day. We'll see you next week for even more exciting updates with Jamie Milne. And as always, just be nice.